short time that we're alive on this planet, and I say short because it truly is. And by the time we realize who we are, what our purpose is, what we want to do, I mean, hell, we're in our prime. We have to be. What happens? We have only half of the typical lifespan left in life, and that's hard. It's hard to know that we only have decades. You know, I don't know the nature of biology, what makes things real and true, but I do know some things. And I know that when we're eating foods that are ancestrally appropriate, meaning non-processed stuff, things that have been around forever, so meats that are cured in salt, that has been around forever. It has been around since before the current era. Probably okay. And seeing as how when we have a low insulin level, a low glucose level in our bloodstream, sodium really isn't an issue. It's whenever we have high insulin levels, it's combined with sugar, that it becomes a problem. So, health-wise, my overall arching theme is to keep insulin as low as possible via the things that I put into my mouth, what I eat. So, I eat eggs, and even though it says on the on the case for the eggs, there's no carbohydrates in eggs. There is. And that's because of the way the FDA labels. And you have to be aware of these types of things, you know? The FDA labeling says that if there is less than 1 gram or less than 0.5 grams of sugar or carbohydrates, it can put 0 on the label. It's a rounding down thing. Well, so there's half a gram. I mean, I think if you're under 10, it really doesn't matter all too much. But so I eat eggs. I mean, eggs are delicious, and I'll tell you, frying them in lard is delicious. Anybody that thinks, thank God, anybody that thinks that eggs are bad for you doesn't understand. Oh, I can't wait for auto intelligence to come around. So, the way that I eat is by a very low carbohydrate diet, which is going on by that, meaning I eat a primarily meat diet. Essentially, I only eat meat. But the 3 foods that I eat are muscle meat, and I like the meats that are red, that have a lot of fat in them, because they taste good. Chicken is good if you cook it right. So frying it in lard is delicious. I love pork. Pork is an amazing food. And lard is cheap. It's very cheap. I mean, I bought a 5-gallon drum of lard from Walmart. Or is it 5 gallons? I don't know. Whatever those paint can size things are, for $60. I mean, that stuff is incredibly cheap to cook in. And it's delicious. But lard with eggs fried in them, it's one of the best ways to cook eggs. I love them poached. Poached is delicious too. But you know, it's like you go to the store. I really don't buy bacon because there's all that. I mean, I don't know what all the chemicals are that are put into the lard. I mean, into the curing for the, because it's liquid smoke. Those are all chemicals that are in there. And You don't know what it is. And plus, I will tell you, when I eat just bacon, so like meat moves out of my stomach quickly. I can eat 2 to 3 pounds, and I'll tell you, within an hour and a half, it is out of my stomach. 100% out of my stomach. I can feel it. It's moved into my small intestine. And so, but whenever I start mixing other stuff into it, it doesn't move out as quickly. But like, so bacon, that stuff, if I drink some water and then I burp, like some sparkling water, 9 hours later sometime, and it's just bacon, but I eat it as a meal, I'll still have the burp of bacon. So I know that it's still in there. And plus the water doesn't move through my stomach nearly as quickly. I'm driving to Baton Rouge right now. You know, it's just an interesting thing about that. So there's other stuff in there. I find that spices tend to slow down gastric emptying time. I don't know why that is, but they do. And maybe it has to do with some irritation. Who knows? Salt does not one single bit. In fact, I've noticed that whenever I am salting my food to taste, and I particularly like the granules of salt that are larger, they seem to, I don't know. And if I was to think about it, you know, if I was to find a salt deposit on the ground somewhere, just in nature, it would, and I was to chip off a chunk of it, I wouldn't be trying to grind that stuff into a fine powder like the salts that we have done with machines today. I would 100% not be able to get it into a fine powder unless I had a pumice stone. So my point here is that with health, as long as I'm eating foods that are very low in the insulin that they bring out, it seems to work out really, really well for me. I mean, I haven't eaten yet today. It's now 1:36. I'm not hungry. I'll tell you another thing that's pretty wild and crazy is the scheduling of my bowel movements. My bowel movement schedule is like every 2 to 5 days. It kind of depends. So meat, muscle meat, dairy. The dairies that I'll eat right now are sour cream and cottage cheese. I'm about to start trying to make my own because I asked ChatGPT an interesting little thing of, oh, how do you make cottage cheese? Apparently all you need is milk. So I like that. You know, it's got lactose in it, it's got sugars, but it's the only place I get sugar from. And so here's an interesting question. You know, anybody that thinks about muscles, okay, well, you've got this combination of 3 sugar molecules bonded together to make glycogen, and it's stored in 2 places in the body. It's stored in the liver to be released into the bloodstream whenever blood sugar levels glucose levels go low. And then there is also the muscle storage. Now, muscle storage, so glycogen, right, can be broken down very easily into glucose. And one of the interesting facts, okay, well, what happens to that sugar? Because if I'm eating muscle, well, then that would mean that meat has got sugar in it. I'm trying to get my cruise control right. That would mean that meat has sugar in it. Actually, it doesn't. So we all know what happens after, or when someone dies. Part of the process of the death of an animal is rigor mortis. And during that process of rigor mortis, whenever the muscles go stiff, which is the breakdown of a bunch of the muscle, but all of the glycogen stores in the muscle are used up during that process. That is where that muscle has the ability to contract and relax and twitch. The twitching in the muscle is because it's got crazy inaccurate signaling input. And the breakdown of the sarcoplasm and everything is starting to come apart in that process. But the point is there is little to absolute no sugar in muscle meat once it's gone through rigor mortis. Now, if you go out and you get a fresh kill, like say you go kill a boar and you start skinning it immediately, and before the muscle meat has the opportunity, I think it's what, like 12 hours rigor mortis, or no, 12 hours when it's done. I don't know, maybe it's 24. I don't know that exact amount. I'm not a medical expert, but I do know that once it's done, the glycogen is out. So the glycogen would probably still be in there, and you would have it in the meat. Now, to the extent that it changes the taste, I don't know, because I've never done that. What I know is that it is gone after. And the meat that's in the store that we buy, most of that has been aged to the extent, I mean, because you got to think about it, by the time from slaughtering to getting to the grocery store, there's a lot that's going on. And so any bacteria that might be on the meat or any other microbes around, they're going to consume that stuff as well. So it is a very, very low carb diet. I mean, I am eating under 20 grams at most a day. You know, I don't eat dairy every day, and I don't eat eggs every day. These things come in cycles for me. It's like I will, at times, crave eggs. And it's not necessarily, I mean, at the level of my mind, I can associate it with it being to a taste thing, as a psychological presence in my life, but I don't think that's the whole thing. I think that's just my perception of what's going on. I think that there might be actually nutrients, because it makes it taste good, and the taste is what I'm after. And then the same thing with sour cream. There is an acidity in sour cream that I absolutely love, you know. And I will say, there is one flavor that I really, really like, and that's a citrus type flavor. Dear God, so I am passing a dump truck right now, and my windshield just got a whole bunch of tiny little dots of something on it. Well, at least it's not a liquid waste disposal truck. And here's the thing. Those are the three foods. I only drink water. Now, people will say all this stuff about microplastics and hormone and endocrine interrupters and things like that. I don't know anything about that. What I do know is that I can taste the differences in water. I can taste it whenever it tastes like plastic. And I do know that whenever I am drinking water from a plastic bottle that has been out in the sun and has gotten hot, it absolutely 100% tastes like plastic. That I understand. Now, there has been so many chemicals and shit dispersed into our atmosphere, not just in the United States, but from other countries. I mean, the modern way of life, the fact that I'm even able to record a video, which is amazing. I can't wait until the day that we can record emotions that level of experience, I mean, without having to be plugged into anything. I mean, just the same way that you watch a TV screen or whatever. That's it. I'm using my senses, but if we can figure out how to transfer emotion, god damn, that would be amazing. So here's the thing. I have no idea what I'm talking about right now, because I'm trying to drive and hold this camera steady and think about what I'm saying, but I just want to say something. I find that there are interesting things in life, and food is one of them, and the way that it impacts our mind and how well we can think. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. And the water. So what I do is I buy, or at least right now, I'm buying Rouse's distilled gallon of water. Now, when you look on the label, it says it's Niagara. Now, I don't know the full history. I don't know everything about Niagara. But what I know is that the Niagara water, I mean, Rouse's is Niagara water. It's just got a brand of Niagara. They also supply the water to Costco. Costco's water is Niagara water. And you know that because you can look on the label, and that's one of the things that Niagara does. I mean, they sell their own brand, but they also make water for other companies. Where it comes from, I don't know. But I do know that they have 3 different kinds of water that they make. One is just reverse osmosis water, and then it's probably municipal water. One of them is reverse osmosis. Another one is reverse osmosis with, and I don't know the process or exactly what is added into it. Electrolytes, some minerals added into it after the reverse osmosis, because yes, reverse osmosis does take out electrolytes, does take out minerals. It would have to. And then there is also distilled. Now, the distilled water is reverse osmosis, and then it is distilled. So it is the cleanest level of water that they will sell. And these things are inexpensive, relatively. I mean, it used to be 99 cents a gallon. Now, if you go into the store and buy it, it's $1.59. But I buy it, so they come in like 6-packs, like with shrink wrap on the outside that holds the 6 gallons together, and that's what I'll buy. I'll buy like 10, 15 of them at a time, and it lasts me a while. I would no way in hell. I mean, if it was the only choice that I had, I would get water out of like Walmart, where they have the thing up front, and you buy the gallon jug, and then you return the jug, and you get a discount on your next. I mean, my God, hell, you could fill up one of those gallons with one of those 5-gallon cans with gasoline. Have you ever tried cleaning out a gasoline can? You never get the gasoline smell out. You know that it's messed with it. So, I mean, or like Kentwood water, any kind of water delivery, I mean, I would not make that my primary source of water. But my point being is that I primarily make water a taste. You know, can I taste it? And like smart water is clean. You know, you start to be able to get a very clear and accurate representation of what is in the water whenever you're not drinking and eating a lot of the bullshit that is available to us. I mean, like, you can taste calcium, you can taste the pH level from the different minerals. And so the thing here with all of it is I only drink water. Now, I will drink sparkling water. I don't know if there is a long-term negative effect of drinking water that has CO2 in it, because in fact the exact opposite is what would be happening in nature. You would have, I mean, waterfalls, they oxygenate water. You know, anytime water moves, it's mixing with the air and it's releasing carbon dioxide in that sense, but it's making it more neutral to what the environmental air around it has. So
in 10 miles, take exit 160 onto Essen Lane towards Louisiana Highway 3064.
Oh, thank you. So I know that's true, but I don't notice any negative effects. And if you think about it, when you burp, that's probably the CO2. Is there anything else that's in the water after you burp? I don't know. I don't notice a negative effect from it, and that's where I kind of really put my money in. It's how I feel, and so that's it. That's pretty much what I do. I love cold water. I mean, cold water is absolutely delicious. You know, there's a natural attraction towards springs and hot water springs. So things like having environmental changes, like having cold water whenever you're really hot, I don't believe that is a bad thing or something that's not a natural way of using modern technology, like with refrigeration and ice. And I say that because in nature, okay, so one is, this is absolutely 100% available in nature. Not everywhere on the planet. You don't get the massive changes, but I mean, you have hot water springs. You have the ability to make heat with fire, and the fact that we're cooking a lot of our foods, it's available. So it's there. Yeah, and I don't see any issue with getting really hot. I kind of go by, or getting very cold. I like the hot far more. I find that the effects on my body and my mind are far greater whenever I am doing the heat, the sweating, you know. And how much water do I drink? 1 to 4 gallons a day. That's kind of the range, and that is very much dependent upon how much I am sweating. If I'm not sweating all that much, I don't. You know, and I've also not really noticed anything with a sodium or mineral imbalance in any kind of way. I think this is a load of nonsense that you need electrolytes. The only thing in supplement, the only thing I have ever noticed in the most truest sense, because I've been doing carnivore since June 21st of 2021. Of 2020, which is 3 years at this point. About to be 3 years and 1 month. So the point that I can say about that is that, like any kind of cramping or twitching, it has much more to do with, number one, rest, like quality rest. You need sleep, and then also just water. Dehydration. I find that there is a dehydration. I have tried these things when I've had cramps, and like, okay, well, I'm having a muscle spasm, things are tightening up, like, you know, on the bottom of your foot or in your hand or something like that. Okay, well, maybe it's magnesium. Okay, well, let's put some magnesium. Drink magnesium. Nothing happens. It doesn't stop. It doesn't go away, not even within an hour. Like, the thing is still there. The only thing that ends up making a difference in the long term is after I've had a good night's sleep. And prior to that, in the short term, it's just water. That's the only thing that makes a difference. I mean, drinking a bunch of water, laying down, and then letting water move through me. And then I guess about an hour to an hour and a half later, I start to notice a very pronounced decrease in muscle spasticity, muscle tone, like that hyperability of the muscles to just want to contract. Like whenever you put the joint in the position where the muscles contract, it just wants to contract. It's like it's leaning so far into the contraction, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna contract everything as much as it possibly can, even though there's no resistance. So the only other thing I've ever noticed is something like postural position. If it's in my feet, if I stand up, they'll quit. And I it's not a that's a neurological thing. So state of mind, because I've noticed like all I have to do is just put a little bit of weight on on the big toe and the pad of my foot, and you can just feel it. It just starts to let go. It's not like it's going into resistance, and the weight of your body from gravity is forcing the foot muscles to come out or to elongate. It's not like that's what's happening. It's like a neurological thing. I don't know exactly what that mechanism is, but it's a mechanism, and it's real, and it's there. So that's happening, I know. It's water and rest. It's not an electrolyte imbalance. Like every time that I put sodium in my water and drink it, the only thing it does is gives me edema. And if I put like a lot of sodium in water, it gives me edema. It makes my I'm a pretty lean guy, and I like being lean. It feels good being lean. I don't like having extra weight on me because it doesn't feel good. So, and it's like I can feel the water underneath my skin or the fluid, the edema. And I don't like that feeling, and it can take several days to go away. But I can consume just as much salt. Just as much.
In 2 miles, take exit 160 onto Essen Lane toward Louisiana Highway 3064.
I can consume just as much, but on my food. Multiple grams. I've had 10 to 20 grams of salt a day for many, many days in a row. But it's just how much I'm consuming, how it's salting my meat to taste. So, and I find that primarily meat is where my sodium goes into, and then sometimes I don't crave it. And you don't sweat out the sodium. That's stupid. There might be some that comes out if there's extra floating around in the bloodstream, but that's just nonsense. Why in the world? Do you think that all of the tiny functions of the body that have to be kept into balance, that the body would be so stupid as to just let it go away? That's ridiculous. It's inside the cells. It's not going to leave the cells. That's just nonsense. That's...
Use the right 2 lanes to take exit 160 onto Essen Lane toward Louisiana Highway 3064.
That's part of what the large intestine is for, is to reabsorb anything that's left fluid-wise and the bile into the bloodstream. So,
take the exit.
Good Lord, you're annoying. And I know how to get there. So we're pulling into Baton Rouge right now. But I guess the whole reason I started this video is because of Spider-Man. And
at the light, use the left 2 lanes to turn onto Essen Lane South.
It's Spider-Man. Man, I guess my point is that
turn left.
We have to become our own superheroes in life. We have to learn how to own our own shit. And when we can pick ourselves up, because we are the only one that can pick ourselves up. Nobody's going to come and save us. Nobody will ever come and save us. It's just not how it functions. So you got to become your own superhero.